Hello and welcome to the Cyberden interview highlight video. This is where we check out some of the funniest and most memorable moments from previous Cyberden interviews. First up, we have Craig Sechler. He's the voice of the adoring fan from the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, as well as Butch of the Tunnel Snakes from Fallout 3. Thanks for coming, mate.
My pleasure, Jake. Great to be on. And hello to everybody who's listening.
Must be quite interesting to know that even to this day, there are many fans out there who are still playing both Fallout 3 and the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and still loving it just as much.
I am thrilled that they continue to respect it and like to even play it because I know they're both pretty old by video game standards. I just think the world of gamers, I didn't know gamers, and I'm putting them all in the same basket right now. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I have such respect for them. A lot of people make fun of the gamers who spend 12 hours a day in front of their sets and know all these games, but I think that they're actually all very creative types. I have an interesting story. This is not an answer to your question. I was called in as a guest voiceover talent to a major university in the Midwest, a big one. And I did 3 days teaching voiceover, and part of it was doing games for voiceover. But while I was there, I met an old friend I hadn't seen in 20 years who had become a professor there. And she had a 12-year-old son. And she said she wanted me to meet him, but that I shouldn't take it personally when he either wouldn't shake my hand or look me in the eye or really deal with me at all. She said he was not quite, but close to being autistic, and he was asocial. It's not that he was angry with people, he did not relate to people. And when she introduced me in her living room, he acted the way she said he would. He ignored me pretty much, and he couldn't look me in the eye. But when she told him that I played Butch in Fallout 3, not only did he look at me in the eye, he hugged me, and he just kept hugging me. And then he started talking, and his mom was really shocked that he was talking to me because he didn't talk to anybody. He said, "I can play you in." And I said, "I have no idea what does that mean?" "I can show you your work. If you can wait, I'll play you into the game." And he ran over to his game and his console, and he started banging it out. And for the first time, I'd never even seen anybody play a video game. And I saw everything until he got to me. And I hope this doesn't sound bad. It's probably going to sound bad and self-serving, but I was so happy and pleased with my performance because I had never heard a performance of mine ever in any video game until I heard that one. Since then, I've heard a number, but that was the first time I'd ever heard it and seen what it's like for the player to do things that bring up my lines, since they're not, it's the narrative is such that there is no narrative. It's always, these things are reacting to the player's decisions, moves, things like that. And I couldn't believe how it all came together. It actually worked because I couldn't understand how you could just throw this stuff out there and all of these responses by the performer can actually work. And it just means that there can be 1 million stories, 10 million stories, or at least different ways that story is told. I hope that made some sense to you. But I just want to express how shocked I was at how the games actually worked. I'd always heard, and intellectually I tried to grasp it, but I'd never seen it in action. And I remember nodding, yes, they were right. This thing can work. And who knows, some days we may be watching movies the same way. I don't know.
That's a really wholesome anecdote right there, so thank you very much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Actually, this reminds me of another interesting anecdote that does actually involve one particular character of yours, once again bringing back the adoring fan from Oblivion. Me and my brother, we played Oblivion back in 2006 and 2007 when Fallout came out. We loved that as well. We loved both games dearly. And we would, of course, quote a lot of the lines to each other. And just recently, it was my brother's birthday, and I was searching online for a present, and I found a website, and I tried to type in some ideas. I thought, okay, Oblivion shirts. And then I found a shirt with a picture of the adoring fan on it saying, buy a Zora, buy a Zora, buy a Zora. I thought, yes, I'm buying that. Had it sent over. Happy birthday, Morgan.
Oh, my God.
He loved it.
That's my favorite moment of everything I've done is buy a Zora, buy a Zora, buy a Zora. Oh, my God. It cracks me up just even thinking about it now. I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you very much, Craig Sechler. Now we have the voice of the Master Chief from the Halo series, Steve Downes.
Jake, it's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it.
Have you played much of the Halo games, or would you not call yourself a gamer?
I would not call myself a gamer. You know what? When Halo 2 came out, that's when I sort of made a decision. You know, I really need to find out what the heck's going on here. And because I was not a gamer. I wasn't a gamer going in. And after Halo 1, you know, it's not like it drew me into the gaming community. It didn't. But when Halo 2 came out, I said, well, you know, Steve, you need to really, you know, find out how, you know, what's going on here. And I got myself an Xbox and got the game and tried to play it. And Jake, I was so horrible at it. I thought, okay, the learning curve on this for me is going to be so steep. It will take me years to be mediocre. And I made a decision at that point. I said, you know, you cannot be mediocre at this game. You either have to be very good or don't play it at all. And I didn't really like my chances of being very good at it. So I made a conscious decision not to really try to play it. The few times that I did, I was awful. And I thought, you know, this is, and then actually the very first appearance I ever made on behalf of Master Chief was at there was a guy called me up in Miami, and he was opening a video game store, and he asked me if I would come down and be a part of the grand opening. And I had never done anything like that prior. And I said, okay, fine. I mean, I was up here in Chicago, and it was wintertime, and he was going to fly me down to Miami. So that's all I needed to know. But I said, I don't dress up as the character, and I don't play the game. Well, he completely ignored the second thing. And unbeknownst to me, he had a contest that the winner of which was going to play me at Halo. And when I found this out, I said, dude, I don't play the game. I'm horrible at it. This will be a huge disappointment to whoever wins the game. And he said, don't worry about it. We've rigged it. There's a guy behind the curtain over here. It was literally like a Wizard of Oz thing. There's a guy behind the curtain. He's a pro player. He's a pro gamer. He will play for you. You'll just be holding a dead controller in your hands and pressing buttons. They'll never know the difference. So I said, well, okay, if you say so. So anyway, the person who won the right to play me at Halo was this 11-year-old girl. And we started playing the game, and the guy's, my, double behind the screen, he's doing his best. Consequently, I lasted about 15 seconds, and this girl wiped the floor with the both of us. And you have never been more humiliated than have an 11-year-old girl look at you like, wow, you're the Master Chief, huh? Whoa, impressive. And that was absolutely my last experience at getting anywhere near an Xbox controller in front of anybody.
It takes a big man to admit these things. This little tidbit happened back in 2011. Now, during the lead-up to an upcoming sequel to a certain iconic 90s shooter series called Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the titular protagonist, he certainly poked fun at the Master Chief and, generally speaking, also protagonists who wear power armor. I'm sure fans will hopefully know and remember that infamous quote. When Duke Nukem spotted the Master Chief armor sitting in the locker and said, "Hey, Duke, you want some armor?" He said a rather rude quip about people who wear power armor. I'm guessing you heard anything about that, and if so, how did you react?
To be honest with you, Jake, I haven't. I have not. I've heard about it, but I've never heard the actual quote.
Do you want me to do you want me to put
By
on my
all
best
means.
Duke quote? Yes, well, so what happened was, like I say, Duke walks over, and this was advertised in, like, the pre-release E3 stuff as well, and a soldier goes, "Hey, Duke, I got your power armor, you want it?" And Duke very coolly goes, and I pardon my French in advance, everyone, "Power armor is for pussies." And, the soldier, a bit stunned, goes, "Okay, you want a gun instead?"
Well, I would say this to Duke. Duke, bring it.
Thank you very much, Steve. Last but not least, we have the composer for the original Doom games, as well as Duke Nukem 2, Duke Nukem 3D, Commander Keen, and much more, Bobby Prince.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
Now, Bobby, what was it like working for id Software, the creators of the Doom series, back in the 90s?
Oh, man, we had a lot of fun in the early days. I mean, we had all sorts of jokes going. And, of course, I'm older than those guys, and I'd been around a good bit more than they had had the opportunity or the time to be. And I think a lot of our humor was probably not for going on the air or anything like that. There was a lot of, what did President Trump call it, locker room humor that went on. And then again, there was just general playing practical jokes on one another. And I mean, the most famous being putting Romero's picture at the end of Doom, and you had to go in and kill him. And but all sorts of things, like when Carmack came up with a speed control on the game without letting Romero know, watching Romero play Sean Green, they were in offices with one wall separating them, but like three doors, but one wall, and they'd pound on the wall and cuss one another. And Sean knew the code to turn the speed on, and he turned it up just some so it would give him an edge. And I was in Romero's office at the time watching him play, and he kept going, "Man, he just sort of disappeared." And I was about ready to just laugh my butt off and really bust out laughing. It was hard not to, but I went, "Man, he's gotten better, I'll tell you." Then Sean did it a little, he jacked the speed up a little too much, and Romero said, "There's something going on here," and he figured it out pretty quickly that the speed had been changed. But of course, I didn't spend a whole lot of time with the guys. I mean, I might spend a month at a time with them, and then I'd go back. I was living in Florida at the time. I'd go back to Florida and work on stuff and try to fine tune and work on sound effects for anything that they came up with that needed it.
Last but not least, we have Nick Apostolides, best known as the voice actor and motion capture artist for Leon Kennedy from the Resident Evil 2 remake. Thanks for coming, mate.
Hey, thank you so much, Jake, for having me. Thanks for your patience. And I gotta say, you have an incredible voice for this.
Oh, you flirt. Anyway, what were your experiences like working for Capcom? Do you have any favorite lines or moments in the game? I did hear that apparently you had a bit of an accident during one of the death recordings, if you want to talk about that as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, see, I'm a method actor. You probably know what that is. For those who don't know what that is, method actors, I don't know how to sum it up really easy. They like to feel the conditions that their characters are going through. So, for instance, if your character is really like overtired and underslept, they will deprive themselves of sleep. They like to feel what's going on in the body. And I'm very much like that. It works for me on camera. And so during the death scenes, we have to record all the possible deaths that Leon could go through, whether he gets impaled, he gets burned alive, blown up by a grenade, eaten by a zombie, eaten by a dog. You got to record all these different ones so they can throw it in with an algorithm when you're playing. And so the very last session that we had, the director was prepping me for a death from probably the Tyrant. And he's like, imagine this big guy, Mr. X, he grabs you by the neck and he lifts you up and he's strangling you and you're gasping for your last breath. And then he takes his big claw and maybe impales your stomach. And I want to hear that gurgle of blood. And he just really described the scenario. He said, all right, go for it. This is the last one. And then we'll go home. And then I think we're done, like for the game, like wrapped. So with my last take, I wanted to go all out. And what I'd done is I threw some water in my throat to get that gargly sound. And I literally just, like, after 4 hours of just screaming and panting and breathing heavy and fighting efforts, I was really just a little lightheaded already. And what I did was I went up to my tippy toes and I placed my hand around my neck and I just squeezed a bit and got that gurgle, like, and my brain had just taken it, like it was done. And I think I deprived myself of air and I literally choked myself out and everything just went black and I just fell back like a tree falling in the forest. I fell in the booth and Tom, the director, thought that it was part of the gag and part of just me doing my thing, until he saw my leg just twitching and shaking and my face was complete like Casper ghost white. And I literally passed out. And so you can never say that I don't go all out for my roles.
Nick, thank you so much for coming on board to this interview. Please do consider subscribing to this channel. Thank you very much to everyone who has checked out this interview highlight reel, and have a good one.
Hey, this is Leon Kennedy from the Resident Evil 2 Remake. When I'm not fighting zombies, I'm listening to Jake the Voice on my favorite radio show, The Cyber Den. Maybe you should do the same.